Hey, what's up, party people? How's everybody doing? Hopefully, midweek, right before the holidays, you're doing all right. See, we got some people showing up. We're gonna give everybody a few minutes to show up, and then we'll kick it off. See, we got Katie's in the house. Katie. Oh, okay. Katie's been been emailing me. Katie, just want to let you know I checked on your journal order, and we've been having a little trouble with our fulfillment team, and it looks like they got your thing out the door, but they were a little late. So I'm going to refund the shipping that you paid on that journal, because we try to keep our promises here, and it's a little unnerving when things outside of your control happen and other people drop the ball and stuff. But at the same time, that's kind of what tonight's about is. Having some accountability, personal responsibility, and obviously we want to be taking care of the things that we can control, and letting go of the things that we can't. But at the same time, we have to take absolute responsibility for how we show up in the world and things we put out there. And so, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I did get your email and I did check up on that, and I'm glad you're here. It's awesome awesome to see you here. So yeah, and for everyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you do. I mean, if you guys are showing up here, you probably are getting inundated with ads of me offering free journals. And it's exciting though, a lot of people are taking it up, and so hopefully we'll get a lot more people hanging out with us and journaling pretty soon. So it's awesome. So I appreciate everybody here who's been kind of like an early adopter. But the party's growing, and that's obviously really exciting. So it's on the Howls in the house. Everything is going really well. My fiance, who wasn't doing so good a couple weeks ago, is doing much better. So really happy about that, obviously, and excited to roll into a new holiday and the new year. And gosh, next year is going to be very exciting, not just for journal party for me, but I'm getting married in March, and it's just coming up. I can't believe it. So really exciting stuff. Darlene's ready to party. Awesome. All right, well, it's five after. Got a smaller crowd tonight, but you know what? If people show up late, that's cool too. I know holiday season. It's holiday season. It's I don't expect everybody to be showing up. And actually, on that note, next Wednesday is Christmas, I think. So we will probably go on hiatus and then return probably in the new year. So this might be the last one of the year. TBD if we're going to do a special New Year's one. Let me look at our calendar real quick. Yeah, I mean, because the Wednesday after that is the first. So that could actually be really fun. Maybe we will do one on New Year's Day. All right. So everybody ready to get started? Let me know how the music sounds. It sounds a little weird in my ears. So just want to make sure everyone can hear me a-okay. And we'll get rocking. All right. So this evening's program is called Own It. And I mentioned this earlier, just a moment ago, what this program is about. Um, I was out of town. I was in Charleston, and on the flight home, on my flights, I listen to I always like to listen to something motivational or encouraging. I find that I don't like to I don't like to waste time, and whenever I'm driving or whenever I'm in the air, and there's not a whole lot I can like do to take action on my own. I like to fill that space with learning if possible. And so I was actually listening to a speech by Jim Rohn, and it was all about taking responsibility and being accountable to yourself. And I find that normally I'm pretty good at that. That said, it's something that's important to be mindful of. And so, especially as we wrap up this year and we do a lot of reflecting, you know, it's good, especially in your journal, to be honest with yourself. And that's not to say you need to beat yourself up. That's not to say that you did anything wrong per se. But that said, you know, I think we need to be as open as possible with ourselves, especially in a space like a journal where nobody else is necessarily going to read it but you, because this is your chance to actually make something of these reflections. I mean, we can affirm ourselves into oblivion, but it's also really good to take a look at the reality of the situation and decide what we want to do with that information. And so the idea here for this evening is we got 10 prompts for you, 3 minutes per prompt, and we're just going to do a little bit of reflecting on some of the choices that we've made, and with an eye on growth. We're going to try to hold ourselves accountable, but also be intentional about that. So I hope you enjoy this program. I spent quite a bit of time on it, and I think it's about time to get this party started. So if you don't mind, go ahead, open up your journal. I will read the prompts for us, for anybody who's new and don't know what we're doing, and I will kind of disappear into the background, and at the end, we can all hang out, talk about our insights, and I'd love to hear how everybody's year went, and what you have on tap for the new year. We definitely have some really interesting and exciting things planned for journal parties, so really looking forward to hanging out with everybody. But first, we gotta get rocking with journaling. So we hit this start now button, and we'll kick this off. All right. First prompt, moment of choice. Recall a recent situation where you had to make a tough decision. What guided your choice? All right, your next prompt, taking the wheel. Write about one area of your life where you could take more control. I love this one because I'm a control freak. Next one is daily accountability. What's one thing you promised yourself to do today or recently, and did you follow through? Next prompt, owning mistakes. Reflect on a mistake you've made recently. How did you respond and what did you learn? Your next prompt is values in action. Choose a personal value you hold dear. How are you showing it in your actions? Next prompt, the excuse trap. Think about a time you made an excuse. What would accountability have looked like instead? Next prompt, support system check. Who helps you stay accountable and how can you strengthen that relationship? Follow through wins. Write about a time you committed to something and saw it through. How did it feel? Future promise. What's one commitment you'll make to yourself for tomorrow? Accountability toolkit. List tools, habits, or strategies you can use to keep yourself responsible and on track. Okay. Finish up whatever thought you have there. Take a deep breath and own it. Hope everyone did all right with that. I actually really enjoyed this one. I mean, I think I'm usually pretty good at being honest in my journal space. And I actually found that this sort of structure helped me to be a little bit more gentle with myself, which is good. You gotta be easy on yourself. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't hold yourself accountable, right? But yeah, sometimes it's easy to kind of beat yourself up over stuff when I think really you just have to, like I said, hold yourself accountable and correct course if necessary. And it's also just a good idea to shine a light on where you're making excuses. That prompt was particularly useful for me. I probably spent about a minute just even thinking about it because like your mind doesn't want to admit when it's making excuses. At least mine doesn't. But there's always stuff. I mean, for me, like yesterday, I realized I was being a real jerk to my fiance because of stuff that I had going on, and she kind of called me out on it. And in that moment, I think I made excuses for my behavior when, like, the reality is, like, I should have kind of owned up to it, and even though there was things that were causing that behavior. It didn't really justify it, right? So that was something that was interesting, and I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff for me that came up with Journal Party. I mean, this is basically my life's work at this point. I spend most of my day trying to figure out ways to grow this tribe and this community and to serve everybody. And it can be particularly frustrating when you feel like you're trying your best and when you hold values like integrity, but for whatever reason the ball gets dropped. And so you know I was trying to not make excuses, but at the same time hold myself accountable for the result no matter what, because this is a creation that exists because I willed it to be, which is kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, like, that's really awesome and exciting to do that, but I also have a responsibility to what I put out there in the world. And so been coming up with a lot of different challenges in business lately. No business is free of those challenges, but we do have the ability to be conscious in terms of how we show up when those challenges show up. And you know, I one of the prompts that I really enjoyed here was the values in action prompt. Like I said, I really value integrity, and I value being able to keep my promises. And it really drives me nuts when I'm doing my best to do that, but I can't because of something that's out of my control. But I think in those moments, you know, one of the other values that I hold dear is just creativity. I truly believe that there is a creative solution to every problem, and that as long as you're honest, that creativity can help solve those problems. And one I mentioned this earlier. Poor Kristen on here ordered a journal, and I think it got out a day late, and that just really grinds my gears. I mean, we've been having some issues with our fulfillment partners, but because I really care about keeping those promises that we make, or that I make. It's prompted me to have to seek new partners, and that's a difficult process. I don't know if anybody's ever set up a supply chain before, but you hope that everybody abides by their agreements, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes things happen. It's the holidays or whatever. They bite off more than they can chew. I bite off more than I can chew, and I think the best that I can do in those sorts of scenarios is just be honest and try to make it right. And it's tough because you want personally, like I mentioned earlier in mid prompting, I'm a total control freak. And when I don't have that kind of control over things, it's tough because, it's those gaps that get filled with, I mean, personally, I care about how I show up. And, one of the things that I have to be careful about is like the seeking of approval, and sacrificing certain things to get that approval. But ultimately, I do feel that it is important to hold yourself accountable, and that's independent of whether or not somebody likes you. For you, it's about doing what you said you were going to do. And that there was some prompts in here, or there were some prompts in here about that as well. Daily accountability. Like, I've been killing it in terms of promises that I've made for like exercise. Like, I had fallen off the wagon a little bit with exercise, and I've gotten really good at being on track with that. But simultaneously, it's almost like I traded one for the other. I traditionally I've been really great with my meditation practice, 20 minutes twice a day, and I've been dropping the ball on that a lot lately. And when I'm honest and hold myself accountable to that, it's like, well, I said that I was going to pick that up because I can see how it affects me, and how I handle things in general. And I guess it's interesting. So I put in in the comments there, a good follow-up to that prompt is, well, why do you think, if you dropped the ball, why do you think you did? And so I was thinking about that, and I think I think it comes down to um, certain priorities getting out of whack, and ultimately, I think I need to realize that I need to practice what I preach, right? One of the things that I often assert and say is that I think that it's our state of being that determines our circumstances, and when I don't center myself in the beginning of the day, when I don't give myself that time to like come correct, it's real easy to let my circumstances sort of hijack my state of being. And I mentioned earlier that I was being a jerk to my fiance, and that's totally why I was spinning out on some head garbage, as I like to call it. And you know I could have I did at the time make excuses for that, but the reality is that you know it's not in that situation. It's not about being right. Like, yeah, some things go wrong, but um, that doesn't give me the right to be a jerk and to dwell in those sorts of spaces. And so yeah, it's helpful to put that out on paper, because especially when your circumstances sort of hijack that state of being, like they can do sometimes. um it it's a lie, and it's hard to sort through all of that, and getting it out on paper puts a little distance in between it. And I found that it becomes a thing that I can deal with, versus like this overwhelming mountain, if that makes any sense. um Darlene saying, I have learned not to beat myself up over stuff that I can do nothing about, and fix what I can. Yeah, I mean, that's like the essence of the serenity prayer. But as I mentioned, it can get a little muddy, when there's things like commerce involved, right? So that's where I had a little bit of struggle. But in another thing that I have learned about that is that in that present moment, you can deal with the reality of the situation, and you can bring your best self to that. And so while the circumstances might not be ideal as I've judged them, it is something that I can handle in that moment, good or bad, as I may have judged it. And let's see, Annie says, I had started reading my daily readers in the morning, and there was a morning I set my alarm wrong and I got up super late. I couldn't read them that day, and I haven't been able to get back into it. Yeah, well, hopefully, I mean, shining a light on that can do that. It's really tough when you break routine. I'm a man of routine myself, and that said, I often experiment with my routine, and sometimes things can fall by the wayside a little bit. And I think it just takes a little bit of consciousness, or conscious decision making, rather, to get back to it. And so, I'm going to try to hold myself more accountable to the meditation, like I was saying. Fortunately, I think I've filled some of those gaps with prayer, and that's also very helpful for me. But yeah, it takes acknowledgement, and witnessing that that's what's going on, and then ultimately it's about actually making that decision and taking action. I mean, action is obviously really key there. And I mean, if you're running into that, I know I'm going to visit this later. We have some habit stacking programs in the Journal Party app that kind of guide you through taking a look at your routines, and finding areas and ways to integrate new activities, or maybe activities that have fallen off, into your routine, by piggybacking them or stacking them onto well-worn habits. Who teaches this is oh, what's his name? As I go to say it, who's the Atomic Habits guy? James Clear. I think that's Atomic Habits. He might have been different. habit book. Anyway, James Clear wrote a really good book about that. And yeah, I mean, the idea is just to find something that you're basically doing on autopilot anyway, and find a way to stack the new habit on top of it. And actually, I mean, that's how I established a really solid journaling routine in the first place. Was my was my morning coffee. Like I knew I was going to get up and have coffee. And you know, uh, Opening up my journal next to that was actually a really delightful experience, and now it's one that I wouldn't trade for the world. So, yeah, I have to find ways to integrate the meditation back into that. Nahal said, "Uh-oh, we lost our lights here." That's how I know I'm getting getting close to the hour. All right. Nahal said 2024 has skinned me. I had to make super hard choices, letting go of a bad situation, being much more careful with my finances, stop making excuses for things I know I need to change, and thank God my sister is my pillar of strength and my moral compass. Yeah. I mean, we had a prompt in here about, your support, and often in these programs, I write prompts about identifying where you get support, because that's another thing. I mean, it's so easy to put all this pressure on ourselves, but life's no fun when you're doing it alone, and it's way harder. And I have struggled with that in the past because I don't like to burden anybody. The last thing I want to do is make my pain someone else's pain. But what what I've found, and this is just because I've managed to find such a wonderful partner in my fiance, is that it's not she doesn't see that as a burden. She sees that as a way to enhance her own life, because we're so well integrated, and it's a way to show love, and it's a way to just improve everything. And so really good that you have a sister that you can lean on a little bit. We all need somebody to lean on, as they say. And he said, it's been a self-punishing technique, and it's not a good thing. I need, um, I need to stop it. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the right. The floggings, the mental, hopefully not physical. Yeah, got to be gentle with yourself. That's something that I've learned, and it's tough. I mean, if you have high standards, it's really easy to come down on yourself really hard, and kind of you know punish yourself. And punishment is not the same as discipline. Some people think it is, right? Depending on how old you were when you were in school, that might have been a real thing for you. But yeah, definitely be kind to yourself, because then it's a lot easier to receive that honesty on an ongoing basis. It's not fun when you're constantly beating yourself up, and if anybody is doing that, we have some really great programs for overcoming negative self-talk, which I do it sometimes, and I'm only human, right? We're all only human, and fortunately, as humans going through this sort of shared human experience, some of us have created awesome tools. Well, I toot my own horn there, but I think journal parties are a really great tool for that. But also, um, there are other tools. Not that I would call a person that's supporting you a tool, and that's probably not the right the right language for it. But there are so many things that we have at our disposal in this hopefully more enlightened day and age, that just weren't available to us before. There's, even though the internet can seem to rip us apart so many times, it's also just amassed all of this wisdom and all of this knowledge. And we are certainly not the first people to go through what it's like to be a human being. And so it's really great to be able to tap into the collective wisdom, and hopefully be able to receive it. But I think on that note, it's very useful to be willing to receive it, to be coachable, to be teachable. And if you are open to those things, and your intention is growth, which I think is the ultimate essence of life, is growth. All life is essentially growth seeking. And so, there it's all out there. A lot of times it just, it's getting out of our own way, and that's kind of the self-punishing. You know, I do that too, but yeah, sometimes you just got to get out of your own way. Cyril said, maybe start with baby steps to get back to your daily routine. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And that's another thing that, I really recommend that book, James Clear. Look him up. I'm not sure if it's Atomic Habits. I think it is actually. But one of the other things, in addition to the habit stacking, is, breaking things down into something that's a little bit more manageable, so that you can get a quick win and get some momentum. There's people who tell you to make your bed first thing in the morning because it's like the first quick win. Not depending on how fast you are at making your bed, but it's definitely a win that you can have, right? And I find that in the gym. I find that when I'm lifting weights regularly, that's super helpful because I know what to do, right? There's like it's not like a lot of the other things that I encounter where I have to get like really creative. And although I really value creativity, sometimes like, you put your head to the page. That's not a saying. You go to the drawing board though, and sometimes you don't always come up with stuff, and so that can be challenging. Whereas there are certain things where you can that are really easy to establish momentum, right? I mean, like, they say that for exercise and losing weight, right? You might think like, oh my God, I gotta lose 20 pounds. And that sounds crazy. Like, of course, like who's going to get out of the bed and lose 20? But you can't do that. It's not physically possible. But what you can do is, all right, like maybe even walking a mile seems like a lot. How about I just walk the block? Get going, and then you might find that you've walked that block and you got more in the tank because you're already moving. It feels good. And so, yeah, totally. Baby steps, chunking is, I think, the psychological or psychology term for that, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, breaking things up, and that's it makes things a lot less daunting. You also said, one of my good friends suggested I start with one sentence a day for journaling. Then I can always do more if I want to continue. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of those lately. Like one sentence a day journals. Maybe I'll make one for journal party. I don't know. We'll see. Got a +1 on James Clear. And he said, I just got one of those too not long ago. Darlene, that's very mature, Alex. If you can own it, apologize. That is great. Your personality will make you overthink again or get frustrated with others, but if you can recognize it, you're doing great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, we're all trying our best out here, and I think the key is to create or to establish like the habit of coming correct, like getting centered, whether that is for some people that looks like talking to God. For some people that's writing in your journal and having a conversation with yourself. I've even seen people open up like Chat GPT and they do the thing where they talk with it, and that's helpful. Or I personally like therapy is great. Probably don't want to replace that with AI or anything like that. But yeah, I mean it humility is obviously a really great quality to have, but it's really tough to have that if you don't create the space for it and actually let it all out. And I mean, one of the practices that I hold dear as part of my morning routine, I do the morning pages as laid out by Julia Cameron. If you haven't read The Artist's Way, super awesome. Even if you're not an artist, it's a really great practice that she lays out there, and it's really helpful for igniting your creativity. And the practice of morning pages, you're doing 3 pages stream of consciousness, basically first thing in the morning. And what I find is like the first 2 pages for me are often littered with what I call head garbage, just total nonsense, a lot of complaints, a lot of wallowing, and a lot of just a lot of garbage, like if I'm honest. But it's interesting because as you witness that coming out of you, you become more present because you start to get out of what happened to you or what they did to you, and you start to get away from what you want to happen and wish would happen. Not that those are bad things to consider, but you're ultimately just facing down whatever's coming out of the pen on the page in that present moment. And I find that usually by the second page, I can it's weird, my handwriting starts to get like better. Like it's like my state of mind is like syncs up with my handwriting sometimes. I don't know if anyone else experiences that, but like even if I flip through my journals, I can see like, oh, he was having a day there, and then it's like, oh, he was on track there. But yeah, in any case, you get all that nonsense out of there, and you're just faced with the reality of what is, and then from there you can decide what to do about it. And hopefully, we're as the type of people that are doing these sorts of practices, I think we all have probably pretty good, essence or core to us. And when that starts to show up, that's when magic starts to happen. And I call it magic for lack of a better explanation. Maybe it's grace, maybe it's I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's I think when we get away from like what we've made up, and get down to what is like the reality is, this is all this really incredible experience that we're all going through. And we all have a tendency to judge it good or bad, but like you cannot deny like the wonder that just surrounds you constantly. And it's so easy to like get to be moved away from that mentally because of our preference, like our tendency for preference, and wanting things to be a certain way. And ultimately, like there's this tidal wave of just actions that are leading to activity that's leading to the next activity in the next present moment. And the audacity to try to like assert your will on top of that is sometimes a little silly. Not to say that we can't be creative and exert our own will, but I think what I'm getting at here is that a lot of times, like if you're not careful, your mind will kind of create a reality for you that isn't the most pleasant. And if you would just give it a break, step back, take a deep breath, it's actually really wonderful, everything that's happening. And there's things that aren't wonderful that we actually do have the power to change, and when we can focus on those, we change it and life gets better. So yeah, hopefully I'm not being too long-winded here. All right, you guys are sharing some cool stuff. I see that. D said, that is so me. I take on pain of others as a conduit in so many ways. I don't release others' stuff. They don't see the effect it has on me because they are being helped. I'm working on being honest with me. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you just need some boundaries there. But that starts with awareness, right? Because it may be core to your identity that I'm a helpful person. And so, I do that myself. And, a lot of people, I think, in my life, see me as like either like a peacekeeper or someone that they can dump a lot of stuff on. And I'm happy to help wherever I can. But yeah, sometimes it's maybe better to set a boundary, so that you can take care of yourself. It's like, what do they say on the airplanes? You got to put your mask on first. Let's see. Okay, so Cheryl's got a friend. She uses an app to journal about stuff, and she gets the AI feedback she loves. Yeah, I've seen a couple apps like that. I'm so reluctant to push AI into this whole mixture. It's a scary space, but at the same time, like they're coming out with like PhD level intelligence and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, ultimately, I think what's important to me is that all of this comes from the heart and comes from expertise. And so, I'm either creating these things based off of my own personal experience, where I have have that expertise. And in areas, I try to disclose this as much as possible. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a mental health expert. I'm happy to be your friend and talk about my shared experience. But like whenever I create something that's got a mental health component to it, I always try to go to an actual therapist, somebody who's credentialed, who can, make sure that we're not leading people astray. I think that's my biggest fear with the AI stuff, is just that it's gonna, lead people astray. But sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. And I know I've tried that out before. The voice, it's crazy, it's bizarre, man. I can't believe where we are in technology. And he said, I have the Artist Way book but haven't really read through it. Definitely read through it, it's awesome. Tasha wanted to share my future commitment I make to myself, which actually is what I just started doing. I promise to have at least 1 hour a day to stop, pray, and reflect and journal to get rid of every day's negativity. I have to process the day. Being a teacher and a caretaker to a close family member is challenging, so self-care for me is crucial. Yeah, absolutely. Take care of yourself and let us know how we can support you in that. I mean, we've got our group's getting pretty big, like the Facebook group. And in we sorry, but we just increased the price on the premium, but I'm trying to find ways to increase the value for Journal Party Premium. And one of the ways that I was thinking is to have like a more serious accountability group, and whether that's us getting together somewhat regularly, like on Zoom meetings, whether we're journaling or not. Maybe we can journal, and maybe we can actually, one thing I've done in the past with the group for a separate business was we had an accountability board, and every week we would put the things that we said that we wanted to do, like the things that we wanted to commit to action. And then the following week, everybody would get back on, and we call each other out, and in a loving and gentle way. But it's like, hey, so and so, did you do the thing that you said that you promised yourself that you were gonna do? And whether you did or not, it's a way for us to kind of hold each other accountable. And I'm thinking there's probably something cool we can do with that for Journal Party. So I'm going to reflect on that a little bit, and try to plan something nice for us to increase the value of what we're doing here, especially for those who are like really in the tribe with us here. We've got a lot of app users now, which is cool. But for the people who continuously show up for themselves, I mean, there's more we can do, and I know there is, but gosh, I mean, maybe that's one thing I probably need to do for myself in the next year, is get more help with this process. I mean, this is a lot. Not that I'm the only person doing this. I know my fiance's been helping out with the social media stuff lately, and that's awesome. And I have an assistant who's been super helpful in scheduling some of the emails and things like that. But I think there's always more that we can do, and hopefully I can get that help and support that I need to actually be able to serve that, because I think like we're just tip of the iceberg of this type of work that we're doing, and I would really love to see it evolve. Darlene said, I have a notebook titled "What I Really Want to Do Right Now." I write what I really want to do or say in the moment. I instructed my family not to read it after I'm gone. Yeah, I have a few journals. I'm probably gonna have to. I'm gonna have to like call my best buddy and be like, hey, like, if I ever croak, I'm gonna need you to burn this trunk. So we'll figure that out later, hopefully. Mary's feeling super inspired. Awesome. Princess Melanie says, hello from Birmingham, Alabama. First time on. Love your podcast. Awesome. Yeah. Sometimes I forget that I do the podcast because like we don't talk about it ever. And, like here we're in community a little bit more, but that's awesome. I see people download it and listen to it, but I'm always curious, like, are people actually listening to it, or is it just the kind of thing that gets automatically downloaded and inflates my ego every week? But yeah, the podcast is super fun to make. And Cheryl says, yeah, I'm really against AI for the most part, but the AI app sounds cool. Yeah, we'll see. Like what's really interesting is I'm actually really plugged into that community. I did a lot of work for a company that had a very publicly botched launch. for like an AI wearable device. It's a little bit different. It's not like, robbing from artists and things like that and creating like fake art and stuff. It's more so like a device to help you break free from your screen, like the screen of the phone. And I think we were just a little bit early on the launch. And yeah, you're saying I don't believe in replacing humans. And yeah, that's actually not the point of the thing that we were working on. Is that it was actually supposed to eliminate some of the overbearing nature of technology, so that it can kind of fade into the background and we can be more present with each other. And I think that's my hope for like the whole direction of the AI space, is that it's incredible what we've accomplished as human beings, and being able to to create something that is intelligent. It's wild. It's such a trip. And it's equal parts terrifying and equal parts like exciting and promising. So I'll as a total geek and a total nerd, I'll always have my finger on the pulse of that. And we'll see. One of my values here is is integrity, but also, on that note, is it's so important to me that we don't lead people astray here. And so, that's my promise to you. And keeping promises part of that, right? But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of ways that we can, integrate the good parts of that. But ultimately, it comes down to what you guys want. So, feel free to weigh in whenever you like. Let's see. Princess said, I have been journaling for 41 years and it's part of my daily routine. Yeah. Well, I'm in about 25 years of it myself, and it's the best. Like, I mean, you know, I feel like it's one of those, it's kind of like meditation in the sense that, like, I feel like everyone feels like they should journal. They like know that it's good for you. Like everyone can kind of agree that you should do it, but like so few are actually able to fully integrate it. And so really glad to see that you've been able to stay consistent with it. Cheryl really needs the accountability group. Yeah, so I'll start thinking about that. And guys, I mean, like, this is, as much as like I like birthed this whole thing, like, it's taken on a life of its own, and the way that we've come together, and the feedback loop that we've kind of created here. So if anybody ever has ideas or ways to help the evolution of all of this, then please feel free to share and contribute. I love collaborating. Tasha loves the idea of the community board and group. Let's see. Been doing affirmations, not going to the gym regularly. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the thing about the gym, right, is like, I know that there's progress, like almost guaranteed. Like, if I show up, I'm going to get stronger. And I can see that because I can document it. But that's, you can kind of do the same thing with your journal, by, writing down your experience and your goals and things like that. And then you see what happens, see how you actually showed up. And so, maybe maybe that can be integrated too. Felicia got Atomic Habits in the Silent Book Club. Cool. Yeah, definitely. Definitely check out that book. I mean, he's a huge journaler, and there's a bunch of stuff in there about journaling. So I love it. A little bit extra. Let's see. The work, we did the accountability. We had big goals, rocks, and the small steps to get there. And we called stones. Yeah, I've been a part of those systems. You got asked if you completed a stone. Simple yes or no. No excuses. Just yes or no. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right? And like, you don't need other people, coming down on you, like, or at least I know I don't. Like, I just, that simple yes or no would be enough for me to to receive the self-discipline personally. Awesome. Cool. All right. So it looks like we're about ready to wrap up here. We went a little long. So anyway, I appreciate everybody who hung out and stuck around. Again, we're probably not going to do this on Christmas, which is next Wednesday, but we may do it on the first. Got to see how New Year's Eve went. hopefully, hopefully I can hold myself accountable and not party too hard. But you know what? Like, this was an interesting year, good and bad. But like I said, you got to be careful about judging things as good or bad, because I think the ultimate reality is so much bigger than we ever give it credit for. And so, with that said, folks, I hope you've had a wonderful year, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your year. If we, I mean, I guess, yeah, we probably won't be on. This will probably be the last Journal Party Live of the year. So, as they used to say in school, see you next year. So, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a long time. So, hopefully, we'll see you soon. And all right, yeah, I'm seeing you guys aren't getting the notifications. Yeah, Facebook's being real weird about what they let people about the notifications lately. So I'll take a look into that. We may just have to get a little bit more on it with our email and our communications. I actually wrote about that in terms of how I can show up and be more accountable to everybody. Is I think communication improves all relationships, and so that's one of my big goals. Now and into the new year is to improve our communications here. And so, with that said, I would love to be crystal clear in the communication that I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. You've made this little, passion project, this musing of mine, into something that it really gets me excited to get up and get out of bed every day to work on. And so I have you all to thank for that. I promise you, I will continue to show up. If you do, and you guys keep showing up. So it's been awesome. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening, wonderful rest of your week, wonderful rest of your year. I hope all is well, and it is well. It is well. And so, everyone, have a good night. As always, party.